We also want our employees to recognize that they too will benefit from financial recovery. I spent a little over a decade working with federal, state, and local government, the nonprofit world, on employee performance evaluations, benchmarking, management reviews, and management reforms. You cannot turn any organization around unless you have the involvement and alignment of your employees. And so we have proposed an employee share and savings performance fund, where if we save money in pensions, we will take a portion of that and allow them to receive performance-based bonuses in year 4 and year 5. Over $46 million of bonuses, which is about a 4% to 5% salary or take-home pay increase, depending upon what labor union they're a member of. I know some of you might say, no, that's not acceptable. If we can balance our budget and fix our financial problems and reward our employees, I believe it's good for our institution as a city to provide those services that we want. And I want to reward employees based on performance, not just, well, everyone gets a piece of the action. It will absolutely drive more change in how our government delivers a service to your neighborhood than anything else. And I think it's appropriate to put as part of our plan. Here's our current pension payment. The reason why I keep telling people if you don't fix the pension, you don't save our city, is that when you look just at the defined benefit pension cost, it is a number that will bring our city to its knees. Back in 2003, our annual pension payment for the pension defined benefit plan, because we actually have a lot of goodies in the retirement package. Free health care for life. We have a second retirement system that's a 401k that they were getting, SPSP. They get the deferred retirement option plan, which is they get to take their pension payout while they're still getting a city salary for the last 5 years of their city service. A lot of different goodies, but just the defined benefit annual contribution. 2003 was about $40 to $50 million. Last year was $150 million. This year it's over $230 million. It will approach $500 million by fiscal 2024. We cannot sustain that. There's no sugarcoating it. As I said, no tax increase is going to be big enough, and no service cut will be deep enough to backfill the pension hole. So we look through the pension benefits, and how many of you have heard the term vested benefit? Vested, pensions are vested. Vested means you can't do anything to take it away. And for some benefits and some employees, that is true. But what we found by looking through the fine-tooth comb, the pension system, is that there are a lot of benefits that are discretionary that we can reform. And it depends upon who you're talking about in terms of, are they new employees, existing employees, or retirees, in terms of how far you can reform. We assumed that all the benefits were vested and that we weren't going to try to challenge or take away anything that was legally owed to someone. But what I did ask my lawyers to do was go through every benefit and find out what are the legal abilities to change, to save money, to reform. The roadmap outlines 16 legal reforms to the pension benefits and retirement benefits that we're able to implement with or without the agreement of the labor unions. They could say no, and we can still implement them. We do things like this. We require city employees pay their fair share in contributions for pension benefits. The city charter says that city employees should be paying roughly equal. But that's not what we've been doing. We've been picking up the employer cost and a portion of the employee cost. We reform that and say you have to pay your equal fair share. We look at retiree health care, which is deemed not to be a vested benefit. For retirees, we say a card laid is a card played, we will pay the benefit. But for existing employees, we enact reforms. Another thing that we found, and it was appalling to see that this was happening. In the military and in most defined benefit plans, your pension is calculated based on your base salary. You get a formula. Years of service times a multiplier times your base salary. Not so in the city of San Diego. There's pension spiking going on, where city employees are able to add additional compensation to their base before their pension benefit is calculated for life. We went in and we asked the lawyers, can we change the pensionable status of all those extras? And they said, yes, you can. You can eliminate them, you can change the pensionable status. And so what we do in one of the 16 reforms, the most powerful reform is capping pensionable pay. If you just froze pensionable pay, give them what they got as of right now for 5 years, we save almost $250 million with that reform alone. And this is what would happen to our pension payment. The reason why there's a red and a green bar is that the charter allows for salary increases for steps. But even if we allow for those step increases, we're still able to save substantial taxpayer funds. All of it's legal and can be implemented with or without the permission of the labor unions. This is one reform of 16. We also propose that we move to a 401k system for new hires and allow existing employees to opt out of the Cadillac benefits into the Chevy, the 401k. Now you might ask, Carl, why would they voluntarily give up the Cadillac and go to the Chevy? Remember how I mentioned earlier that we're going to charge them their full cost of the benefit for contributions? You might have, on a bell curve, certain employees who are 5 years into their city service. They're vested. They get the benefit if they stay long enough. They get the benefit. But if they want the benefit, they have to pay for it. So many of those employees under this buyout program, many of those employees will buy themselves out simply by saying, I don't want to pay more in my biweekly paycheck for my pension. I'm voluntarily waiving my right and opting into the new pension system. And we save and they save. It's a win-win. Now, some employees that are 3 years away from retirement, they're saying, hey, the golden handshake is just around the corner. I'll pay the extra money because I'm only 3 years away. We will save because they're paid more in, but they'll end up enrolling in that system. Which is why the 16 reforms work together to produce the maximum savings. I want to end on some of the other things that we saw in the labor contracts that allowed us to save the money that we saved. I went through with our team every labor contract the city has. And we said, would this be allowed if we were a nonprofit or private sector provider? Would this provision be allowed? For example, in the city of San Diego, we have a generous holiday package. We give every holiday off that you presume that the most organizations give off, Christmas, Thanksgiving. We give Cesar Chavez Day off. We also give them a floating holiday that they get to use. On top of that, they get to accrue personal leave, vacation and sick time as part of personal leave. One union allows them to accrue up to 700 hours of personal leave. Now, in most organizations, you think, okay, that's pretty obscene, but, you know, use it or lose it, that's your cap, right? No, it gets worse. If they get to their cap and they don't want to use it, they don't lose it. They can ask for it in a paycheck. Last year, we paid out $5.1 million in vacation pay in lieu. You would never see that in the private sector or the nonprofit world. Here's another one we found, because I'm very concerned about public safety. Browned out fire stations. We looked at the fire union contract, and we came across a line that looked innocuous. It said, here are all the salaries and benefits for any individual who holds a certification as an emergency medical technician. That individual shall receive a specialty pay of 8.5% increase. So I said, okay, well, how many people are we talking about that have this special certification? All of them. You have to be EMT certified to apply for the job. You have to be EMT certified to keep the job. Now, For those of you who still haven't realized just how unacceptable this is, that's like opening up the newspaper in the help wanted section and seeing wanted lawyer, competitive salary, attractive benefit package, and if you have a law degree, you get an 8.5% automatic bonus. You would never see that happen in the private sector, but you're seeing that happen with your money in city government at the same time that fire stations are being browned out. Unacceptable. There's another specialty pay in the fire department contract that if you get desk duty, you get an automatic bonus of 15%. And yet we have a lot of firefighters who are on disability because they were hurt and can no longer be on a ladder or a truck. There are so many examples I could go through. It would sicken your stomach. But the silver lining here is, well, we started out by saying we don't have to raise the taxes and raise the fees and see your water bill keep going up and up by 65% since 2007. We don't have to accept our library hours for our kids being cut back, or park and rec cutbacks, or road repairs being delayed. We don't have to have a black and white world in city government. What we can do is rethink how our city spends your money, how we deliver the service, and hold ourselves to the same standard that you would hold yourself in your family budget, that you would insist that your nonprofit hold itself to if you were donating to it, and that we all in the private sector must be held to by virtue of competition and accountability to shareholders, customers, and employees. That is the culture change that we need in city government, and that is what the Roadmap to Recovery, in essence, is all about. I know it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. We wanted to give you the 15-minute overview of what really the plan's about. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your concerns, your suggestions. I will tell you this, we get our best ideas from the public. A lot of times we'll get an email from someone from the public, or someone will stop me in the store or at a forum and say, Carl, let me tell you about this. The EMT bonuses, we found out from a firefighter. That firefighter anonymously provided us that information because he was concerned about the service degradation. And he thought that there was an alternative to save money, and he was right.